Jake Morrison stood in the middle of the big round room. His hands were behind his back. He looked tired. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of machines. Around him sat the alien leaders from across the galaxy. They all looked different. Some looked like living crystals. Others looked like giant bugs. Some were just colored gas floating in glass boxes. Jake had been Earth's voice in this room for 10 years. He had tried to make friends with these aliens. He had asked them to work together. He had offered help, but they never listened. They thought humans were too young and too wild to be trusted. "The human people are leaving the Galactic Council," Jake said. His voice was strong but sad. "We will go away from this part of space. We will leave in one day." The crystal aliens did not move. The bug aliens clicked their teeth. The gas aliens swirled around in their boxes. None of them looked surprised. None of them looked sad. Jake remembered the first time he came to this room. He was excited. Earth had just learned how to travel faster than light. They had found other smart life in the galaxy. Jake thought this was the start of something wonderful, but the aliens did not think humans were wonderful. They thought humans were dangerous. They said humans fought too much. They said humans grew too fast. They said humans asked too many questions. "You are too new," the crystal leader had told Jake years ago. "You do not understand how things work here. You must wait. You must learn. You must be quiet." But humans did not like to wait. They did not like to be quiet. They wanted to explore. They wanted to build. They wanted to make friends. Jake had brought many ideas to the council. Humans had learned how to make dead planets come alive. They could grow food anywhere. They could make clean energy that never ran out. They wanted to share these things. "No," the aliens always said, "you are too dangerous. You move too fast. You might hurt something." So humans stayed in their small part of space. They could only have 12 planets. They could only build small ships. They could only trade with 3 alien groups. Everything else was forbidden. Jake pulled out a small device. It was his final report to Earth. He had written it last night. He did not sleep much anymore. "The council has voted again," he said. Into the device. "They will not let us join the exploration program. They will not let us help with the energy crisis on Kepler Prime. They will not even let us send doctors to help the sick people on Vega 7. He stopped talking. His throat felt tight. He had tried so hard. He had been polite. He had followed their rules. He had done everything they asked. But it was never enough. The bug alien leader made a sound like laughing. "Good," she said. "The violent humans are finally leaving. Now we can have peace." Jake wanted to say something. Angry, he wanted to tell them they were wrong. Humans were not violent. They were protective. They were brave. They cared about others, but what was the point? They would never listen. Up in space, Captain Lisa Adams waited on the big human ship called the UES Horizon. She was looking at her screens. They showed hundreds of human ships getting ready to leave. Some were big warships. Some were small family ships. Some were huge ships that carried whole cities of people. Lisa had been born on Mars. She had never seen Earth except in pictures. But she was still human. She still felt the sadness of leaving. This galaxy had been their home for 50 years. Now they were going away forever. "All ships report ready," said her helper, a young man named Tony Clark. "The families are scared. They want to know where we are going." Lisa looked at the star maps on her screen. Beyond the edge of the galaxy was dark, empty space. No one knew what was out there, but staying here was worse than the unknown. "We will find a new home," she said. "Humans always do." Down in the science lab, Dr. Ben Carter was checking his machines one last time. He had spent 20 years studying space. He had found amazing things. He had learned how stars were born. He had discovered new kinds of energy. He had even found clues about ancient aliens who lived millions of years ago, but the council did not care about his discoveries. They said humans were too stupid to understand real science. They said human discoveries were accidents. They said humans should stick to simple things. Ben had tried to warn them about something he found in deep space. His machines had detected strange signals from outside the galaxy. The signals looked like they came from huge machines. The machines seemed to be moving toward their galaxy. "You are seeing things," the crystal aliens had said. "Your machines are broken. Humans do not know how to use real science tools." Ben had shown them the data. He had explained what it meant. He had begged them to listen, but they just laughed at him. Now Ben was packing his machines. He was taking all his data with him. Maybe in the empty space beyond the galaxy, humans could study these signals in peace. Maybe they could learn what they really meant, the council. Meeting was ending. The alien leaders were getting ready to leave. They looked happy. They talked to each other about how quiet and peaceful the galaxy would be without humans. "Finally," said the gas alien leader, "no more noise, no more questions. No more demands for equal treatment." "Yes," said the crystal leader. The humans were always causing trouble. They wanted to explore places that were forbidden. They wanted to build things that were dangerous. They wanted to make friends with everyone. They were like children, said the bug leader. Loud, messy children who did not know their place. Jake listened to them talk. He felt something cold and hard grow in his chest. These aliens thought they were better than humans. They thought they were smarter. They thought they were more civilized, but Jake knew something they did not know. He knew that humans were stronger than they looked. He knew that humans could survive anything. He knew that humans never gave up. "You think you are getting rid of a problem," Jake said quietly, "but you are making a bigger mistake than you know." The aliens stopped talking. They looked at him. "What do you mean?" asked the crystal leader. Jake smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the kind of smile that made people worried. "You will find out," he said. "When you need help, you will remember this day. You will remember how you treated us. You will remember that you chose to be alone." Jake walked out of the room. He did not look back. He had said everything he needed to say. The human ships began to move. One by one, they turned on their special engines. The engines made space bend and twist. The ships disappeared into the dark between stars. The aliens watched from their space stations. They watched until the last human ship was gone. They watched until the space around them was empty and quiet. Then they went back to their planets. They went back to their normal lives. They forgot about the humans. They thought they would never see them again, but they were wrong. The humans were not gone forever. They were just getting ready. In the dark, empty space beyond the galaxy, they were about to find something that would change everything. The aliens had watched the humans leave in silence. Soon they would learn why that was the biggest mistake they had ever made. 3 months had passed since the humans left. The galaxy felt different now. It was quieter. The council meetings were shorter. There were no more human voices asking difficult questions or making strange suggestions. Commander Helen Brooks was working late again in her office on the crystal planet of Zephyr Prime. She was looking at reports from the edge of their territory. The reports were strange. Ships were disappearing. Whole space stations were going quiet. At first, Helen thought it was just equipment problems. Old machines broke down all the time. But now 12 different places had lost contact. That was too many for accidents, Helen called her assistant, a young crystal being named Quex 7. "Get me the sensor data from the outer rim," she said. "Something is wrong out there." Quex 7 brought the data files. Helen spread them across her desk. The numbers made no sense. The missing places were not connected to each other. They were spread across different star systems, but they all went dark at almost the same time. "Send a scout ship to check the mining station on Kepler 9, Helen ordered. "I want to know what happened there." The scout ship left that same day. It was a small, fast ship with the best sensors the crystal people had. 3 days later, the ship reached Kepler 9. The pilot, a crystal warrior named Zek Prime, could not believe what he saw. The mining station was gone. Not destroyed, gone. There was nothing there but empty space. Even the asteroid the station was built on had disappeared. This is impossible, Zek Prime said into his radio. There is nothing here, no metal pieces. No energy traces, nothing. Helen felt cold when she heard this report. Things did not just disappear. Even if the station exploded, there would be pieces left behind. Even if it was attacked, there would be signs of fighting, but there was nothing. Just empty space where a busy mining station used to be. Helen was not the only one with problems. On the insect planet of Krell 5, Warrior Prime Zek 9 was getting similar reports. The bug people were good at communication. They could talk to each other across great distances using their minds, but now some of their voices were going quiet. Whole colonies of bug people were stopping their mind talk. When scout ships went to check, they found nothing. Just empty planets with no signs of life. The silence is spreading, Zek 9 told the other bug leaders. Our people are disappearing. Our worlds are becoming empty. The bug people were scared. They had never seen anything like this. In their long history, they had fought many wars. They had survived diseases and disasters. But they had never just disappeared. The gas people were having the same problem. Their floating cities were vanishing from the clouds of their gas giant planets. One day the cities were there. The next day they were gone. Elder Vorth Prime floated in his special container, worried and confused. His people had lived in the clouds for millions of years. They knew every wind and storm. They had sensors that could detect the smallest changes in the air, but the sensors showed nothing. The cities just stopped existing. No explosions. No attacks. No distress calls. They were just gone. All three alien races called for an emergency meeting. The council chamber that had been so quiet and peaceful was now full of fear and confusion. We need answers, Helen said. This is not natural. Something is taking our people. But what? Asked Zek 9. We have no enemies with this kind of power. We need to work together, said Vorth Prime. Share our information. Find out what is happening. The alien leaders began to study the problem. They put all their data together. They used their best computers. They asked their smartest scientists. Slowly, a pattern began to appear. The disappearances were not random. They were moving in a straight line through space. Something was coming. From outside the galaxy, something was eating their worlds. Dr. Vera Stone was the only human left in the galaxy. She had stayed behind to finish her research on alien cultures. She was working alone in a small research station when the council called for her. Vera was surprised to get the call. The aliens had never wanted to talk to her before. They thought human science was too simple. They thought human ideas were too wild. But now they needed her. She was the only one who might understand what was happening. Vera arrived at the council chamber in a small ship. She had not been in this room since the humans left. It looked the same, but it felt different. The alien leaders looked scared. Dr. Stone, Helen said, we need your help. Our people are disappearing. Whole worlds are going empty. We do not know what is causing this. Vera listened as they explained the problem. She looked at their data. She studied their maps, and slowly she began to understand. You are being attacked, she said quietly, by something we call the Devourers. The aliens looked at each other in confusion. They had never heard this word before. What are Devourers? Asked ZEK-9. Vera took a deep breath. They are ancient machines. They come from the empty space between galaxies. They eat everything, planets, stars, whole civilizations. They turn everything into energy for themselves. That is impossible, said Vorth Prime. Our scientists would have detected such machines. We tried to tell you about them, Vera said. 5 years ago, Dr. Ben Carter found their signals in deep space. He brought the data to this council. You said he was wrong. You said his machines were broken. The alien leaders were quiet. They remembered Dr. Carter. They remembered his warnings about signals from deep space. They had laughed at him. They had called him crazy. You ignored the warnings, Vera continued. You thought humans were too stupid to understand real science. But we were right. The Devourers are real. And now they are here. Helen felt sick. How do we stop them? I do not know, Vera said. The humans spent years studying this problem. They tried to find a way to fight the Devourers. But you never let them share their research. You never let them help. Where are the humans now? Asked Zek9. Can we call them back? Vera shook her head. They are gone. They went beyond the edge of the galaxy. We cannot reach them. We cannot even find them. Then we are doomed, said Vorth Prime. Maybe, Vera said, the Devourers are very powerful. They learn from everything they eat. They get stronger with each world they consume. And they are just getting started. The alien leaders looked at the maps again. The pattern was clear now. The Devourers were working their way through the outer parts of the galaxy. They were eating everything in their path. Soon they would reach the core worlds where most of the aliens lived. How long do we have? Helen asked. Not long, Vera said. At their current speed, they will reach the core systems in 6 months, maybe less. The meeting lasted for hours. The aliens tried to think of ways to fight the Devourers. They talked about using their armies. They talked about building bigger weapons. They talked about hiding on distant planets, but Vera knew it was hopeless. The Devourers had destroyed civilizations much older and more powerful than these aliens. They had eaten entire galaxies. They would not be stopped by anything the Council could build. There is one chance, Vera said as the meeting was ending. If we could find the humans, if we could bring them back. They might know something we do not. But how? Asked Helen. We do not know where they went. We cannot communicate with them. I do not know, Vera admitted. But it is our only hope. The humans were preparing for this fight. They might have found answers in the deep space beyond the galaxy. The aliens agreed to try. They would send their fastest ships to look for the humans. They would try every communication method they knew. They would search the empty space beyond the galaxy's edge, but they all knew the truth. The humans were gone. They had left in silence, and now the galaxy was paying the price for that silence. The Devourers were coming, and there was no one left to stop them. The emergency meeting had been going on for 3 days now. The big council chamber was full of tired alien leaders. They had not slept much. They had not eaten much. They were too scared to rest. More worlds were disappearing every day. The Devourers were moving faster now. They were eating star systems like a person might eat fruit. Easy, quick, without any effort. Supreme Chancellor Thex Prime floated in his glass container. He was the leader of all the gas people. He had lived for 800 years. He had seen wars and disasters. But he had never seen anything like this. Sector 7 is gone, he announced to the room. All 15 planets. All 3 space stations. Everything. The other aliens looked at their maps. Sector 7 had been home to 2 million crystal people. Now it was empty space. How long until they reached the core worlds? Asked Matriarch Zara 6. She was the leader of the bug people. Her voice was tired and scared. 2 months, said Helen. Maybe less. They are moving faster than we thought. The aliens had tried everything they could think of. They had sent their biggest warships to fight the Devourers. The ships never came back. They had tried to hide their people on distant planets. The Devourers found them anyway. We need the humans, said Zara 6. They are the only ones who knew about this threat. They are the only ones who might know how to stop it. But we cannot find them, said Dex Prime. We have sent ships to the edge of the galaxy. We have broadcast messages on every frequency. There is no answer. Dr. Vera Stone sat in the corner of the room. She was the only human left, and now she was the most important person in the galaxy. Everyone looked to her for answers. But she did not have many answers to give. The humans had a plan, she said. Before they left, they were working on something. They called it Project Deep Search. What was it? Asked Helen. I do not know all the details, Vera admitted. But they were studying the space between galaxies. They thought there might be something out there, something that could help fight the Devourers. The aliens looked at each other with hope for the first time in weeks. Could they have found something? asked Zara 6. Maybe, Vera said. But even if they did, how do we contact them? How do we tell them we need help? Lieutenant Colonel Amy Foster was also in the room. She was a human military officer who had stayed behind to close the human embassy. She had been quiet during most of the meeting, but now she spoke up. I know about Project Deep Search, she said. I was not supposed to know, but I heard things. The humans were not just running away. They were looking for something specific. All the aliens turned to look at her. What were they looking for? Asked Dex Prime. An ancient civilization, Amy said. The humans found traces of a very old race. This race had fought the Devourers. Before, millions of years ago. The humans thought they might have left behind some kind of weapon or knowledge. Why did they not tell us this? Asked Helen. Amy looked around the room at all the alien faces. Would you have believed them? You thought humans were too stupid to understand real science. You thought they were making up stories. The aliens were quiet. They knew Amy was right. They had dismissed every human idea as primitive nonsense. General. Ryan Davis presented a defense plan 2 years ago, Amy continued. He wanted to build a network of early warning stations around the galaxy. He wanted to create a joint military force to fight unknown threats. The council voted it down. You said it was too aggressive. Helen remembered that meeting. General. Davis had seemed so serious, so worried. But the aliens had thought he was trying to start a war. They had told him to go away. We made a mistake, Zara 6 said quietly. We should have listened. Yes, Amy said, you should have. But it is too late for that now. The question is, what do we do next? The aliens spent the next day trying to figure out how to contact the humans. They used their best scientists and their most advanced technology. They tried to track the quantum signatures left by the human ships when they departed, but the humans had been gone for months. Their trail was cold. The quantum signatures had faded away. It was like trying to follow footprints in water. There must be something, said Dr. Kex Prime, the best crystal scientist. Some way to reach them. The humans were always good at hiding, said Amy. When they left, they did not want to be followed. They made sure you could not find them. But surely they would come back if they knew we were in danger, said Zara 6. Would they? Amy asked. You treated them like dirt for 50 years. You ignored their warnings. You watched them leave without saying goodbye. Why would they risk their lives to save you? The aliens did not have a good answer for that question. Meanwhile, the Devourers kept coming. They had eaten half the outer rim now. Millions of aliens were dead or missing. Whole civilizations were gone forever. The surviving aliens began to panic. Some tried to run away to distant galaxies, but their ships were too slow. The Devourers would catch them long before they reached safety. Others tried to build bunkers deep underground. They thought they could hide until the Devourers passed by, but the Devourers found them anyway. They ate the whole planets, bunkers, and all. Captain Nicole Reed had been one of the last humans to leave the galaxy. She had been conducting research in the outer regions when the evacuation order came. Her ship, the UES Explorer, had advanced sensors that could detect things other ships missed. Before she left, Nicole had seen something that made her very worried. The Devourers were not just coming from one direction, they were coming from all sides. They had surrounded the entire galaxy. They are not just randomly eating, Nicole had told her crew. They are following a plan. This is a coordinated attack. Nicole had tried to warn the council, but they were too busy celebrating the human departure to listen. Now her ship was somewhere in the deep space beyond the galaxy, and her warning was lost. Back in the council chamber, the aliens were getting desperate. They had tried everything they could think of. They had used all their technology. They had called in all their favors. Nothing worked. We are going to die, said Dex Prime, all of us. The Devourers will eat everything. Maybe not, said Vera. There is still hope. The humans might find a way to help us. How? Asked Helen. We cannot even talk to them. I do not know, Vera admitted. But humans are survivors. They do not give up easily. If there is a way to fight the Devourers, they will find it. Dr. Chris Martinez had been the chief human scientist studying the Devourers. He had spent years trying to understand how they worked. He had theories about their weaknesses. But his research had been cut short when the humans left. Chris was now somewhere in the void between galaxies, still working on the problem. He had access to technology and knowledge that the Council aliens could not imagine. But he was racing. Against time, the Devourers were getting stronger with each world they consumed. They were learning, they were adapting. Soon they would be unstoppable. "We need a miracle," said Amy. "We need the humans," said Zara 6. "We need to pray they can forgive us," said Helen. The aliens looked at their maps one more time. The red zones showing Devourer activity were spreading like a disease. Soon the entire galaxy would be red. Soon. Everything would be gone, but somewhere in the darkness, beyond the stars, the humans were still working. They were still fighting. They were still trying to find a way to save the galaxy that had rejected them. The aliens could only hope it would not be too late. 6 months had passed since the Devourers first appeared. The galaxy was dying. More than half of all the worlds were gone now. The great spiral arms that had once been full of life were dark and empty. The aliens had moved everyone they could to the core worlds. Billions of crystal people, bug people, and gas people were crowded together on the last safe planets. But even these worlds would not be safe for long. Commander Helen Brooks stood on the observation deck of the Crystal Capital ship. She was looking out at the stars. Many of the stars she had known since childhood were gone now. The Devourers had eaten them? Any word from the search teams? She asked her assistant. "No," Quack 7 replied. "The ships we sent to find the humans have not reported back. We think they are lost." Helen nodded sadly. She had not expected the search to work. The humans had been gone too long. They had traveled too far. Even if they were still alive, they were probably in another galaxy by now. The council was meeting again. But there was nothing left to discuss. They had tried everything. They had fought with all their strength. They had used every weapon they had. Nothing could stop the Devourers. "We estimate 3 weeks," said Dr. Kex Prime, "maybe 4. Then they will reach the core worlds." "What about the evacuation ships?" asked Zara 6. "Half of them have been caught and destroyed," said Dex Prime. "The Devourers are too fast. They can catch anything we build." Dr. Vera Stone was still in the council chamber, but she looked very tired. She had been working day and night, trying to find some way to help. But human science was not advanced enough to fight the Devourers alone. "There might be one chance," she said weakly. "If we could get a message to the humans. If we could tell them what is happening." "How?" asked Helen. "We have tried everything." "Quantum broadcast?" Vera said. "The humans taught me about it before they left. It is a way to send messages across very long distances. It uses the same technology as their faster-than-light engines." The aliens looked at each other with hope. "Can you do it?" "I can try," Vera said, "but I will need help. I will need your best scientists and your most powerful energy sources." The aliens agreed immediately. They gave Vera everything she asked for. They worked together for the first time in their history. Crystal people, bug people, and gas people all helped to build the quantum broadcast device. Took 2 weeks to build. Every day the Devourers came closer. Every day more worlds went dark, but the aliens kept working. It was their last hope. Lieutenant Colonel Amy Foster helped with the military parts of the project. She knew more about human technology than anyone else in the galaxy. The humans had emergency codes, she explained. Special signals that would make them come back if Earth was in danger. Maybe those codes will work now. Finally, the device was ready. It was as big as a building and used the power of 3 stars. All the remaining aliens gathered to watch the first test. "Beginning quantum broadcast," announced Dr. Kex Prime, sending message to all possible human locations. The message was simple: "Help us. The Devourers are here. The galaxy is dying. Please come back." They sent the message again and again. They aimed it at every part of the empty space beyond the galaxy. They used every frequency they knew. They put all their hope into those radio waves traveling faster. Then light through the darkness. For 3 days, there was no answer. The aliens began to lose hope again. Maybe the humans were too far away. Maybe they were already dead. Maybe they just did not care anymore. Then on the 4th day, something impossible happened. The space around the core worlds began to shimmer and bend. Huge tears appeared in the fabric of reality itself, and through those tears came ships. But these were not the same ships that had left 6 months ago. The human ships were different now. They were bigger. They were sleeker. They glowed with strange energy. They moved in ways that should not have been possible. "This is Admiral Patricia." "Hayes of the United Earth Space Force," came a voice on every radio frequency at once. "We are assuming defensive positions around your core worlds. Begin immediate evacuation of all non-essential personnel." The aliens could not believe what they were seeing. Thousands of human ships were appearing out of nowhere. They were taking positions around the threatened planets. They were setting up energy barriers and weapon platforms. "How is this possible?" asked Helen. "There were only 300 human ships when they left." "They must have built more," said Zara 6. "Many more." The human fleet was enormous. There were ships that looked like flying cities. There were ships that seemed to be made of pure energy. There were ships that could disappear and reappear in different places. Admiral Hayes contacted the Council directly. Her image appeared on their screens. She looked different than the humans who had left. Her eyes glowed with a strange light. Her voice carried power that made the aliens feel small. "We received your message," she said. "We came as soon as we could." "Thank you," said Helen. "But how did you get here so fast? How did you build so many ships?" "We found something in the void," Admiral Hayes replied. "Something that changed everything. We will explain later. Right now, we need to prepare for battle." The human ships began to deploy around the core worlds. They created a defensive wall of energy and metal. They set up weapons that the aliens had never seen before. They moved with perfect coordination, like they were all part of one giant mind. Dr. Chris Martinez appeared on the screen next to Admiral Hayes. He looked different too. His skin had a metallic shine. His movements were too smooth, too precise. "The Devourers will be here in 48 hours, he said. "We have prepared for this battle. But it will not be easy. The Devourers have grown stronger since we left." "What did you find out there?" asked Vera. "What changed you?" Chris smiled, but it was not quite a human smile anymore. "We found the architects," he said. "The race that built the first defenses against the Devourers. They have been waiting for us. Are they still alive?" asked Amy. "Not in the way you understand life," Admiral Hayes said. "But their knowledge lives on. They taught us what we needed to know. They showed us how to fight the Devourers." "At what cost?" Vera asked. She could see that her fellow humans were different now. They were more than human, but also less than human. "The cost was high," Admiral Hayes admitted. "We are not the same people who left this galaxy. We may never be the same again. But we are the only ones who can stop the Devourers now." The aliens watched in amazement as the human fleet continued to grow. More ships kept appearing through the dimensional tiers. The humans had brought an army that was beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen, but the Devourers were coming too. On the edge of the star system, dark shapes began to appear. They were huge machines, bigger than planets. They moved through space like hungry wolves, ready to devour everything in their path. "All civilian ships, retreat to the inner system," Admiral Hayes ordered. "All military units, prepare for combat. This is what we train for." The aliens could only watch as the two forces moved toward each other. The humans had returned, but they were no longer the same species that had left in silence 6 months ago. They had become something new, something powerful, something that could stand against the Devourers. The battle for the galaxy was about to begin. The final battle began at dawn on the crystal world of Zephyr Prime. The Devourer fleet appeared at the edge of the solar system like a dark storm cloud. There were thousands of them, Each machine was the size of a moon. They moved together like a single hungry beast. The human fleet was ready. Admiral Patricia Hayes stood on the bridge of her flagship, the UES Defiance. Around her, the command crew worked with perfect coordination. Their movements were too smooth, too precise. They were no longer quite human. "All ships begin Phase 1, Admiral Hayes ordered. Her voice reached every human ship instantly. Without radio or any technology the aliens could understand, the human ships moved forward to meet the Devourers. But they did not move like normal ships. They seemed to slide through space, bending reality around them. Some ships disappeared and reappeared in different places. Others split into multiple copies of themselves. The aliens watched from their safe positions behind the human lines. They had never seen anything like this. The humans were fighting with technology that seemed like magic. General Kevin Walsh commanded the human ground forces. He was preparing for the next phase of the battle. If the Devourers broke through the ship defenses, they would try to land on the planets. Kevin's job was to stop them. "Remember," Kevin told his soldiers, "the Devourers learn from everything they fight. Do not use the same tactic twice. Keep changing, keep moving, stay unpredictable." The human soldiers nodded. They understood. They had trained for this battle in the void beyond the galaxy. They had learned from the architects. They knew things about fighting that no other species had ever discovered. Commander Sandy Brooks led the special attack teams. Her job was the most dangerous. She had to board the Devourer ships and destroy them from the inside. It was almost suicide. But the humans had learned how to do impossible things. "Teams Alpha through Delta, prepare for boarding operations," Sandy announced. "Remember, we only get one chance at this." The first clash between the human and Devourer fleets was like watching gods fight. Energy beams that could destroy planets shot back and forth across space. Ships exploded in flashes of light brighter than stars. The very fabric of space and time bent and twisted under the force of the battle. The Devourers were powerful. They had consumed hundreds of galaxies. They had destroyed civilizations that were millions of years old. They were machines built for one purpose, to eat everything, but the humans had learned from the architects. They knew the Devourer's weakness. Every machine, no matter how advanced, had to follow certain rules. The architects had discovered those rules long ago. Now the humans used that knowledge. "Target their central processors," Admiral Hayes commanded. "Do not waste time on the outer shells. Go for the brains." The human ships attacked with surgical precision. They found the weak spots in the Devourer armor. They sent boarding parties into the machine hearts. They used weapons that turned the Devourer's own power against them, but the battle was not easy. The Devourers fought back with terrible fury. They sent swarms of smaller machines to attack the human ships. They used weapons that could erase matter from existence. They adapted to every human tactic within minutes. "We are losing ships," reported Commander Tony Clark from his position in the fleet. "The Devourers are learning too fast." "Then we change the game," said Admiral Hayes. "Begin Phase 2. Phase 2 was something the aliens had never imagined. The human ships began to merge together. Not physically, but somehow deeper than that. They became a single, enormous entity that spanned the entire solar system. The merged human fleet attacked the Devourers as one unified being. It moved like a living creature. It thought like a single mind. It fought with a coordination that was perfect and beautiful and terrifying. The Devourers had never faced anything like this. They tried to adapt, but how do you adapt to something that keeps changing faster than you can understand it? The human fleet was like fighting liquid lightning. Commander Sandy Brooks led her boarding teams into the heart of the largest Devourer ship. It was a nightmare of dark metal and pulsing energy. The corridors were filled with smaller machines that tried to stop the humans, but the humans moved like ghosts. They phased through walls. They became invisible. They struck from impossible angles. The architect technology had given them abilities that seemed supernatural. "Central processor located," Sandy reported. "Beginning shutdown sequence." The shutdown was not done with explosives or weapons. It was done with understanding. The humans had learned the language that the Devourers spoke. They could talk to the machines. They could convince them to stop. One by one, the Devourer ships began to go quiet. Their weapons stopped firing. Their engines stopped moving. The great machines that had eaten entire galaxies simply turned themselves off. The battle lasted 3 days. When it was over, the space around the core worlds was full of dead Devourer ships. The threat that had terrorized the galaxy for millions of years was finally ended, but the victory came with a price. The alien leaders gathered in the council chamber one last time. Admiral Hayes and her officers came to speak with them. But the humans looked different now. The battle had changed them even more. They glowed with strange energy. They moved like they were floating instead of walking. "The galaxy is safe, Admiral," Hayes announced. "The Devourers are destroyed. Their threat is ended forever." The aliens cheered. They were saved. Their worlds were safe. Their children would live. But as they looked at the humans, they began to understand the cost. "What happened to you out there?" asked Dr. Vera Stone. She was looking at Admiral Hayes with tears in her eyes. "What did the architects do to you?" Admiral Hayes smiled, but it was not the smile of the woman who had left 6 months ago. "They gave us the power to save the galaxy," she said, "but they took our humanity in return." "What do you mean?" asked Commander Helen Brooks. Dr. Chris Martinez stepped forward. His skin was now completely metallic. His eyes glowed like stars. "We are no longer human," he said. "We are something new, something between human and machine. We can never go back to what we were." The aliens were quiet. They began to understand the sacrifice the humans had made. To save the galaxy, they had given up their own nature. They had become something else. "We will stay in the galaxy," Admiral Hayes continued. "We will protect you from future threats. But we can never again be your friends. We can never again be your equals. We are your guardians now, nothing more." President Lavra Kim appeared on the screen from the human fleet. She had been elected to speak for all of humanity. But she too had been changed by the architect technology. "You watched us leave in silence," she said to the alien leaders. "You believed we were too dangerous to trust, too wild to be allowed freedom, too primitive to understand real science." The aliens looked down at their hands. They were ashamed. "Now you will live under our protection," Lavar continued. "You will be safe. But you will always know that your silence cost us our souls. You will always remember that we gave up everything to save you." "We are sorry," said Helen. "We were wrong about you. We should have listened." "Yes," said Admiral Hayes. "You should have, but it is too late for sorry now. The galaxy is safe, but the price has been paid. We are no longer human. We are no longer anything you can understand." The humans began to leave the council chamber. They moved like spirits, like beings from another world. They were humanity, but they were also something completely alien. "Will we ever see you again?" asked Vera. "We will always be watching," Admiral Hayes replied. "We will always be protecting. But we will never again be the people you once knew." The humans disappeared, returning to their ships that existed partly in normal space and partly in dimensions the aliens could not imagine. They had saved the galaxy, but they had lost themselves in the process. The council chamber was quiet again. But this time it was the silence of sorrow, not relief. The aliens had learned the true cost of their prejudice. They had gained the ultimate protectors, but they had lost the chance to know humanity as friends. The galaxy was safe, but it would never be the same.